68-mile-per-hour wind gusts. In Wilmington, North Carolina, while it's snowing, that's not a hurricane. That's what some models are projecting for Saturday night when a potential bomb cyclone explodes off the Carolina coast. Is your neighborhood in the path of the heaviest snow bands? Because this isn't just about accumulation anymore. We're talking about a storm system that could intensify so rapidly that blizzard conditions develop across areas that rarely see this kind of weather. I'm going to tell you in the next minute which specific interstate corridors become impassable Saturday and at what time, but I need you to do something first. Comment your location right now. Not in 5 minutes. Right now. Because I'm putting together a custom forecast tonight for every city that gets mentioned in the comments, and tomorrow's video will have your specific snow arrival time down to the hour. Let me deliver immediately. Interstate 85 through the Carolinas. Dangerous conditions begin Friday night around 11 p.m. near the North Carolina-Virginia border. By Saturday at 9 a.m., the entire stretch from Charlotte to Petersburg becomes hazardous. Interstate 77 from Columbia to Charlotte. You're looking at deteriorating conditions starting Saturday morning around 7 a.m., essentially undrivable by 11 a.m. Interstate 40 across North Carolina, the worst stretch between Greensboro and Raleigh, snow begins impacting travel Friday night around 10 p.m., becomes severe Saturday morning around 8 a.m. Interstate 95 through North Carolina. This one's tricky because timing varies by exactly where you are, but generally expect problems starting Saturday around 6 a.m. in the south, spreading north through the morning. Interstate 26 from Charleston to Asheville. Mountain sections become problematic Friday evening around 8 p.m., lowland sections Saturday morning around 9 a.m. Here's what's keeping me up at night about this forecast, and I'm going to be completely transparent with you. We have a situation where the models have been converging on one solution for the past 2 days. Then this morning's European model run suddenly shifted. Not by a little, by a lot. It went from showing a moderate snow event to showing the storm tracking farther offshore, which would reduce snow totals significantly for inland areas but potentially increase them dramatically along the immediate coast. Meanwhile, the GFS model hasn't budged. It's still showing that massive snowstorm across the interior Carolinas. So we're at a critical decision point in this forecast, and the next 12 hours of model data are absolutely crucial. Let me explain what's actually happening in the atmosphere, because understanding the mechanics helps you understand why there's still uncertainty. Right now, there's a massive pool of Arctic air sitting over Canada. And when I say massive, I'm talking about air that originated over the Arctic Ocean, moved south over northern Canada, and is now positioned to drop into the United States. The core of this air mass has temperatures at the surface of -20 to -30 Fahrenheit. That's the source air. As it moves south, it moderates slightly, but we're still talking about brutally cold air reaching the southeast. At the same time, there's a piece of energy in the jet stream, what meteorologists call a short wave, currently moving through the Rockies. This energy is going to race across the country Thursday and Friday, arriving at the East Coast Friday night. When it gets there, it encounters moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. Normally, that setup gives you rain along the coast, maybe some snow in the mountains. But because of that Arctic air mass I just described, temperatures are cold enough for all snow. Even at sea level, even in places like Charleston that almost never see snow stick. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is why some models are so aggressive with snowfall amounts. When that energy reaches the coast, it can spawn a secondary low-pressure system right off the Carolina coast. If that happens, and if that new low-pressure system develops in exactly the right spot, it can tap into all that Gulf and Atlantic moisture while pulling down cold air from the north. The storm essentially feeds on itself, intensifying rapidly. That's a bomb cyclone. The pressure at the center of the storm drops at least 24 millibars in 24 hours. When that happens, you get extremely heavy snow and very high winds. The GFS model has been consistently showing this bomb cyclone development for 3 straight days. It develops the secondary low Friday night off the South Carolina coast, then that low rapidly intensifies as it moves northeast Saturday. By Saturday night, it's showing central pressure around 970 millibars near Cape Hatteras. For reference, a typical nor'easter might bottom out around 985 to 990 millibars. 970 is intense. That would generate winds strong enough to create whiteout conditions even in moderate snow. The European model was showing something similar until this morning. Then it shifted the track of that shortwave energy I mentioned. Instead of tracking it right along the coast, it's now tracking it a bit farther inland initially, which delays the development of that coastal low. In this scenario, you still get snow, but the heaviest amounts stay farther east, closer to the coast, and inland areas see less. This is a huge difference in impacts. We're talking about Charlotte potentially seeing 16 inches in one scenario versus 8 inches in the other. Columbia seeing 14 inches versus 6 inches. So which one is right? Here's my honest assessment right now on Thursday morning. I think the truth is somewhere in between, but I'm leaning slightly toward the more aggressive scenario. Here's why. The Canadian model, which is often a good tiebreaker when the GFS and European disagree, is siding more with the GFS. It's showing significant snow inland. Also, the Ensemble systems, which run multiple versions of each model with slight variations, are clustering more toward the higher snow totals. That tells me there's higher confidence in the more significant event, but I cannot rule out the European solution. If it's right, a lot of people are going to be disappointed because the snow stays mainly east of Interstate 95. Check back with me tomorrow because we'll have evening model runs tonight and morning runs tomorrow. That should clarify this. I'm going to tell you straight up tomorrow if we're trending toward the big event or the lesser event. Right now, we're in forecast limbo, but by tomorrow afternoon, we should have much better clarity. Let me take you through timing in extreme detail because that's what actually helps you prepare. Thursday today, conditions are quiet. Temperatures are cold. Highs only in the 30s and 40s across most of the southeast, but nothing's happening weather-wise. This is your day to prepare. I cannot stress this enough. Do not wait until Friday. Thursday is preparation day. By Friday afternoon, stores will be packed and shelves will be empty of bread and milk. Take care of business today. Thursday night into Friday morning. Still quiet. Temperatures drop into the 20s and 30s, setting the stage. The cold is arriving, but the moisture isn't here yet. Friday during the morning and early afternoon, clouds increase from west to east. By Friday afternoon, skies are overcast across most of the region. Temperatures Friday only reach the low to mid-30s for most areas, upper 20s in the mountains. You can feel the Arctic air arriving. Friday, late afternoon and evening, this is when the first precipitation develops. Now, where it develops first depends on that model disagreement I mentioned. But most models agree that by Friday evening, light snow or a mix of sleet and snow begins falling somewhere across northeast Georgia, far western North Carolina, and eastern Tennessee. Let's say around 5 to 7 p.m. Friday evening for these areas. It's light initially, not causing major problems yet, but it's the beginning. Friday night, 8 p.m. to midnight. The snow expands eastward. By 10 p.m. Friday, snow is likely falling in Asheville, Greenville, Spartanburg, possibly reaching Charlotte and the western suburbs of Columbia. Temperatures at this point are in the mid to upper 20s, cold enough for all snow. Any initial mixing has ended. Accumulations Friday night are light, generally under 2 inches for most places, but roads are starting to get slick. Friday night into early Saturday morning, midnight to 6 a.m. Saturday, the snow continues spreading east and intensifying. By 2 a.m. Saturday, snow is falling in Columbia, Winston-Salem, and Greensboro. By 4 a.m. Saturday, Raleigh and Fayetteville are seeing snow. By 6 a.m. Saturday, snow has reached Wilmington and the coast. Accumulations by Saturday morning are already 3 to 6 inches across the western areas that got started Friday evening, 1 to 3 inches in the Piedmont, just beginning along the coast. Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to noon, this is when things really ramp up. Snow rates increase significantly. Many areas are seeing snowfall rates of 1 inch per hour, some locations possibly higher. The wind is also picking up now, gusting to 25 to 35 miles per hour in many areas. This creates blowing snow and reduced visibility. By noon Saturday, accumulations are 6 to 12 inches in the mountains and western Piedmont, 4 to 8 inches across the central Piedmont, 2 to 5 inches in the east. Saturday afternoon, noon to 6 p.m., this is the critical period. If that coastal low develops and bombs out like the aggressive models show, Saturday afternoon becomes extremely dangerous. Snow rates could hit 1 to 2 inches per hour across a wide area. Winds increase to 35 to 50 miles per hour, creating near whiteout conditions. Thunder snow is possible in the heaviest bands. This is not the time to be on roads. This is not the time to be outside checking on things. This is shelter-in-place weather if it happens. Saturday evening into Saturday night, 6 p.m. Saturday to 6 a.m. Sunday, the storm continues for coastal areas. If the bomb cyclone scenario plays out, Saturday night is when winds are strongest along the coast, possibly exceeding 60 miles per hour in some locations. Snow continues for eastern areas, possibly heavy at times. Western areas might see snow tapering off Saturday evening, but the wind continues, creating drifting of existing snow. By Sunday morning at 6 a.m., snow is ending for most inland areas, continuing along the Outer Banks and far eastern coastal areas. Sunday, the storm moves away. Snow ends by Sunday afternoon for everyone. But the cold remains. Actually, Sunday morning is when we see some of the coldest temperatures. This is critical for power outage situations. If you lost power Saturday and haven't gotten it back by Sunday morning, you're facing lows in the single digits and teens without heat. That's an emergency. Let me go through specific cities and regions, and I'm going to give you more than just snow amounts. I'm going to tell you what the experience of this storm will be like in your area. Asheville, you're first in, first out. Snow begins Friday evening around 6 p.m. Friday night through Saturday morning sees steady snow. Your heaviest snow Saturday morning between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. Total accumulations 8 to 14 inches in the city, 12 to 20 inches in higher elevations around the area. The experience here is a classic mountain snowstorm. Power outages are a real concern because of tree-lined roads and elevation. Temperatures Saturday don't get above 26 degrees. Greenville, South Carolina, and Spartanburg, you're in a unique position. You could see this storm's heaviest snowfall if the band's set up right. Snow begins Friday evening around 8 p.m., continues through Saturday afternoon. Heaviest snow Saturday morning through early afternoon. Total accumulations 10 to 18 inches possible. This would be historic for your area. The last time Greenville saw over a foot of snow was January 2003. Temperatures Saturday peak around 24 degrees. Winds Saturday afternoon gusting to 40 miles per hour create borderline blizzard conditions. Anderson and Clemson area, you're on the western edge. Snow Friday evening through Saturday afternoon. Totals 6 to 12 inches. Less than areas to your east, but still significant. Athens, Georgia, you're borderline. Light to moderate snow, Saturday morning through afternoon. Totals 3 to 7 inches. Your bigger issue is the cold. Sunday morning low around 15 degrees, which is infrastructure threatening for your area. Columbia, this forecast has huge implications for you. If the aggressive models are right, you're looking at 12 to 16 inches. If the conservative model is right, maybe 6 to 10 inches. Either way, it's significant. Snow begins Friday night around 9 or 10 p.m. Becomes moderate to heavy Saturday morning. Peak intensity Saturday between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Temperatures Saturday only reach 24 degrees. This is a crippling snow for Columbia either way. The city doesn't have the resources to deal with this kind of snow quickly. Plan on being homebound Saturday and Sunday. Charlotte, you're similar to Columbia with the range of outcomes. Aggressive models show 14 to 20 inches. Conservative models show 8 to 14 inches. Snow begins Friday evening around 7 to 8 p.m. Becomes heavy Saturday morning. Peak snow Saturday between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. One interesting aspect of Charlotte's forecast is that you might see a lull Saturday afternoon before a second round Saturday evening if the coastal low really cranks up. Temperatures Saturday around 22 degrees. Wind gusts Saturday afternoon to 45 miles per hour. How about you in Gastonia, Rock Hill, and the Charlotte suburbs? You're getting the same storm Charlotte gets. Don't think being in a suburb helps you. If anything, you might see higher totals because you're farther from the urban heat island effect. 10 to 18 inches looks reasonable depending on model solution. Concord and Kannapolis, same situation. Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point, the Triad area, you're in transition zone. North of you sees less snow. South of you sees more. You're right in the gradient. Snow begins Friday night around 8 p.m. Continues through Saturday afternoon. Totals 8 to 14 inches most likely. Temperatures Saturday around 23 degrees. Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, the Triangle. This is where the forecast gets really complicated. You're positioned where that coastal low, if it develops, could create a sharp gradient in snow totals. Areas just east of you could see significantly more than areas just west of you. Current thinking is 10 to 16 inches for the triangle itself, but there's lower confidence here than for other areas. Snow begins Friday night around 9 p.m., becomes heavy Saturday morning, peak snow Saturday between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m., possibly a second surge Saturday evening. Temperatures Saturday around 20 degrees. Cary and Apex, you're part of the triangle. Same forecast. Fayetteville, you're southeast of Raleigh, closer to where that coastal low matters most. If it develops close to shore, you could see some of the highest totals anywhere, possibly 16 to 22 inches. If it stays offshore, maybe 8 to 12 inches. This is one of the highest uncertainty areas in the forecast. Snow begins Friday night around 10 p.m. Heaviest Saturday morning through Saturday evening. Temperatures Saturday low 20s. Wilmington and the North Carolina coast. This is the most variable part of the forecast. If the bomb cyclone happens close to shore, you're looking at a historic snowstorm, 12 to 20 inches possible with wind gusts exceeding 60 miles per hour, borderline hurricane force winds with heavy snow. If the storm stays farther offshore, maybe 6 to 12 inches with lower winds. Snow begins Saturday morning around 6 a.m. Continues through Saturday night. Temperatures Saturday around 26 degrees, which is cold enough for all snow even at the coast. The Outer Banks, you're in extreme variability territory. Could see anywhere from 8 inches to over 20 inches depending on exact storm track. Winds are going to be a major issue regardless. 40 to 70 mile per hour gusts Saturday night. Coastal flooding possible on the sound side with those winds. This is a dangerous situation for the Outer Banks. Jacksonville, North Carolina, near Camp Lejeune, you're in the same boat as Wilmington. High uncertainty, high potential, 8 to 18 inches depending on storm track. Winds Saturday night 40 to 60 miles per hour. New Bern, Morehead City, similar forecasts. Let me shift to Virginia quickly. Norfolk, Virginia Beach, the Hampton Roads area, you're on the northern fringe of this system. Snow likely Saturday, but amounts are highly dependent on storm track. Current thinking is 4 to 10 inches. Could be more if the coastal low tracks close. Winds Saturday 40 to 50 miles per hour along the coast. Richmond, you're also on the northern edge. Snow Saturday with totals of 6 to 12 inches most likely. This would still be significant for Richmond. Charlottesville and Lynchburg, you're farther north and west. Lighter amounts, 4 to 8 inches. Roanoke, 3 to 7 inches. Blacksburg, 6 to 10 inches at elevation. Let me go back to South Carolina coastal areas. Charleston, this is highly unusual for you. Snow is likely Saturday morning through afternoon. Current estimates are 4 to 10 inches, but there's a scenario where you see more if that coastal low develops right off your coast. Temperatures Saturday only reach 28 degrees. Sunday morning low around 19. That's historic cold for Charleston. Protect pipes aggressively. Beaufort, Hilton Head, similar situation. Snow likely Saturday, amounts uncertain, 3 to 8 inches currently estimated. The cold is the bigger story. Myrtle Beach, you're farther north along the coast. 6 to 12 inches looks reasonable. Winds Saturday night 40 to 55 miles per hour. Florence, South Carolina, you're inland from Myrtle Beach. 8 to 14 inches possible. Sumter, similar forecast. 8 to 12 inches. I'm about 18 minutes in and I want to pause to remind you about those comments. I'm going through every single comment tonight. Tell me your city, and tomorrow's video will have a personalized breakdown for you. Don't skip this. Your comment determines whether you get mentioned tomorrow. Let me talk about what happens in terms of power outages because this is a realistic concern. The snow itself isn't the main threat to power. Yes, heavy snow on tree limbs can bring them down. But this is fluffy, light snow because of the cold temperatures. It's not as heavy as wet snow. The real threat is wind. Saturday afternoon and evening, if we get those 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts some models show, trees come down. They don't even need to be weighted with snow. Just sustained winds at that level start taking down trees, especially trees that still have leaves or are in poor health. The areas most vulnerable to outages are areas with above-ground power lines running through wooded areas. That's most of the Carolinas, honestly. The cities might be okay because they have underground utilities in many neighborhoods. But suburban and rural areas with above-ground lines, you're at higher risk. If you lose power Saturday afternoon when it's 25 degrees outside and power crews can't get to you because of the snow and wind, you could be without power into Sunday or Monday while temperatures are in the teens and 20s. That's why I'm stressing preparation so hard. What should you have ready? Water? Even though this isn't a hurricane, water systems can fail if power is out long enough. Have at least a gallon per person per day for 3 days. Food that doesn't need refrigeration or cooking. Think canned goods, peanut butter, bread, crackers. If you have a gas stove, you're in better shape. Baby formula and diapers if you have an infant. Pet food, medications. Make sure you have at least a week's supply of any critical medications. Flashlights and batteries, not candles as your primary light source. Candles are a fire hazard. A way to charge your phone, either a car charger or a portable battery pack. Blankets, extra layers of clothing. If you have a fireplace, stock up on wood today. If you have a generator, test it today. Make sure you have fuel. One thing people forget is entertainment. If power's out for 2 days with kids at home, you need something for them to do. Board games, books, cards. Your phone battery won't last forever, even with a charger. Let me talk about the recovery timeline because the storm ending doesn't mean things go back to normal immediately. Sunday, snow has ended for everyone by Sunday afternoon. But temperatures Sunday are brutal. Highs Sunday only in the upper 20s to low 30s. Nothing melts. Roads that got plowed Saturday refreeze hard Sunday. Black ice everywhere Sunday morning. Schools that might have been thinking about opening Monday will definitely be closed. Road crews will be working around the clock, but they can't treat every road in a state simultaneously. Monday, temperatures moderate slightly. Highs in the low to mid-30s for most areas. Some melting might begin Monday afternoon on main roads that got treated and get sun exposure, but secondary roads, neighborhood streets, many of those are still snow-covered. Schools likely closed again Monday. Tuesday, highs finally get into the upper 30s and low 40s. Now we're seeing real melting. Main roads are mostly clear by Tuesday. Secondary roads improving. Some schools might try to open Tuesday, but it depends on the district. Wednesday, we're mostly back to normal in terms of road conditions. Temperatures Wednesday in the mid-40s. Most snow is gone from roads. Some lingering in shaded areas and piles where it was plowed. The full recovery from this storm is a 4 to 5 day process. This isn't Saturday afternoon cleanup like you might see with a small snow that melts quickly. This is an extended event because of the cold. Plan accordingly for work, school, and other obligations. Let me address a few questions I know you're thinking. First, could this storm miss entirely? Could all these models be wrong and we get nothing? No. Snow is coming. That's locked in. The question is how much and exactly where the heaviest amounts fall. But nobody in the impact zone escapes this entirely. You're getting at least several inches of snow and brutal cold. Second question, what about ice? Is there any ice threat with this? Minimal. The air is so cold that we're not worried about significant ice accumulation. There might be a brief period of sleet mixing with snow Friday evening in some areas as the precipitation starts, but once it's going, it's all snow. That's actually one of the few certainties in this forecast. Third question I keep seeing on social media. Is this like the snowstorm from whenever? Fill in the year. Every area has their benchmark snow. For Columbia, it's always compared to the blizzard of 1973. For Raleigh, 2000. For Charlotte, 2002 or 2014. The honest answer is if the aggressive models verify, this would be in the top 5 for most cities. If the conservative model verifies, it's still significant but not quite historic. We'll know more tomorrow about which direction we're heading. Fourth question, should I try to drive somewhere before the storm? Like, if I'm in Charlotte and want to get to Columbia before the snow, should I do that Thursday? I would say if you're going to travel, do it today, Thursday, and get where you're going by Thursday evening. Do not attempt travel Friday evening through Sunday. That's when this storm is happening. If you're somewhere Thursday night, plan to stay there through the weekend. Here's what I'm watching most closely for tomorrow's forecast. First, tonight's European model run at 6 p.m. Does it continue with the offshore track, or does it come back toward the coast? That's huge. Second, tonight's GFS run at midnight. Does it hold firm on its aggressive solution, or does it back off? Third, the Canadian model that comes out in the middle of the night, does it side with one model or the other? These three pieces of data will tell me so much about where this forecast is heading. I'm also watching the high-resolution short-term models that come out tomorrow morning. Those don't extend far enough into the weekend yet to show the main storm, but they'll give us information about the initial setup Friday evening. And I'm watching upper air data, specifically wind observations from weather balloons launched this evening. That'll tell us about the exact position and strength of the jet stream, which matters for storm track. Tomorrow's video, plan on it being around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll have all that new data. I'll show you the models side by side so you can see the differences. I'll give you updated snowfall maps with ranges instead of single numbers. I'll have a probabilistic breakdown, like what's the chance Charlotte sees more than 12 inches? What's the chance Columbia sees less than 8 inches? That kind of analysis helps you understand the uncertainty better. I might also go live Saturday morning if this storm is unfolding as a major event, just to give real-time updates as conditions deteriorate. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss that. Let me close with this. I've been tracking this storm for 5 days now. The pattern that's setting up is legitimate. The Arctic air is real, the moisture is available, the energy in the jet stream is positioned right. All the ingredients are there for a significant winter storm. The remaining question is magnitude and exact placement. Those details matter, especially for snow totals, but they don't change the fundamental forecast. You need to be prepared for a major snow and extreme cold this weekend. Don't panic, but don't ignore this either. Take it seriously. Prepare today. Check on your neighbors, especially elderly folks who might need help. Have a plan for your pets. Know what you'd do if power goes out. Stay off-road Saturday, and drop your city in those comments so I can give you specific information tomorrow. Thank you for trusting me with your weather information. I'll see you tomorrow afternoon with a much clearer picture of what's coming. Stay safe out there, and remember, we're tracking this together as a community. Talk to you soon.